Hello, my name is Ricardo Wells, and I'll be discussing the IDEA and IEP process over the 12 components regarding the IDEA. I'd like to first begin by talking about FAPE. And what is FAPE? FAPE is the free appropriate public education to where the public school system offers free of charge education to parents and students alike if they're in need of any special education services. The next component that I'll discuss is then the least restrictive environment. And the least restrictive environment is when the special education instruction must be provided to students with disabilities, provisions that ensure that the children with disabilities are educated with children who are not or do not have disabilities to the maximum extent appropriate. The next component that I'll then discuss will be the referral process. And the referral process, of course, if you suspect your child or student is in need of special education services, the first step that you will do, of course, is to reach out to your school district and request evaluation. When you request your child to be evaluated for special education, this is called a referral. In the IDA, it requires local districts to identify, locate, and evaluate every child who may need special services or special education services. The next component that I'll then discuss will be the evaluation process. And the evaluation process, of course, starts with seeing a child and seeing if that child has a disability. If the child does have a disability, further information will be then collected to determine the child's educational needs. After the evaluation and determining the educational needs of the student, a guided decision making for educational services will then be made according to the IEP team. The next component that I'll then discuss is eligibility determination. Excuse me, stumbling over my words. And with the determination, of course, this is to discuss the child's assessment results following the evaluation in comparison to the other children of the same age. So what that basically means is, when we compare these two students, one that has disabilities and one that does not have disabilities, we're going to determine the determinant factor of the evaluation results that indicate if the child meets the definition of one or more disabilities to then receive special education services. The next component that I'll then talk about, of course, are the IEP components would make up the IEP documentation. And of course, those components consist of present levels, annual goals, benchmark or short-term objectives. Let's see, measuring and reporting goal progress, special education, related services, supplementary aids, accommodations, modifications, um, LRE for the least restrictive environment, age of majority, and of course, a transition plan. The next component that I'll then discuss will be the parent and student involvement. And with parent and student involvement, participation in the IEP process is ideal and it is an extreme must for them. To make sure that any IEP goes well and to make sure that that all parties are doing their part in the IEP, it's best to get the involvement of the parents and student first prior to moving on to the other IEP members. The next component that I'll discuss will be the quarterly progress monitoring. And this is where the goals of each student, being if it's language arts goals, math goals, or social emotional goals, these goals will be tracked and recorded on a quarterly basis. So that's on a four quarter calendar school year. Excuse me. The next component in the IEP components, excuse me, will be the annual review process. And with the with the reviewing of a student's existing IEP and present program, where the review records will continue, change, revise, and or end a student's special education program. The next component, I'm sorry, will then be the procedural safeguards. And the procedural safeguards of course are created to protect the rights, of parents and their child with a disability, and at the same time give families and school systems several mechanisms by which to resolve their disputes. The next component that I'll discuss will be the prior written notice. And the prior written notice is the right to receive notification from the school when it suggests to take or decline to take specific actions on matters relating to a child's evaluation, placement, and or education. Related services will be the next component that I'll discuss. And of course, related services deals with the services, the services that students will receive from service providers that benefit them in special education by offering extra help and support. And I want to say that it looked like I made my time. I'm sorry I went over, but I want to say thank you, Professor Berger. That this was an awesome, great opportunity to try to get some practice in for this assignment. I want to say thank you once again. You take care and have a good one. Appreciate you, sir.